There is no more.
Like the rest of us.
I'm a retired psychologist, retired military officer. Work with VIDOC as a volunteer member, as a profiler. Just try to fill my time. Not that 10 grandchildren don't do that. They help. Just got back from a trip to on a Disney cruise with the family, 11 of us. It was really sort of fun. And I'm looking for some places to focus my time. And Ed Silver told me about this group. And I came to breakfast here a month ago, and it seemed interesting, and I thought I'd give it a try. I mean, I really don't have a lot of information. I'll gather a lot of information. I'll invest what I have to invest, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Great.
We have one more act. You want to come up here for a second?
Sure. I can make it.
You're doing great.
Okay.
Take your time.
My name's Art Fryman, and I was a former member of Brith Sholem, and we have some representatives here from Brith Sholem, so I won't talk about the organization. Also, I belong to the Jewish War Veterans, and I heard through the grapevine that you guys do a wonderful job with all the efforts that you go out and help different people. I grew up in the Bronx, New York, and I have a whole contingent of friends that I can meet here. So I am thrilled to be a member of the organization. And I'm running for president next week.
If you'll just wait up here for 1 minute, go over there. Yeah. Just watch the wire. Don't even have to cross the wire.
You just missed it. We had the election.
Anything else that you want?
That's it.
Okay, again, we'd like to welcome our new members. You'll also be getting the name tag and your shirt. That we do have 24 additional shirts in. They're just not here today. But we're to ask our new members if you would lead us in Hamotzi.
Just one thing. I just want to say one thing.
Oh.
I'm sorry to tell you. We had a little malfunction from the JCC this morning. We got up here and there was nothing set up. The doors were locked. They were supposed to be downstairs and upstairs, and they had no clue. I want to thank all the guys who came here early to set up. We really did a great job real quick. Thank you.
So, gentlemen, our new members, if you would lead us in Hamotzi, you'll start. We'll all chime in, and then we'll be able to enjoy breakfast. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Thank you, guys. Welcome, gentlemen. We'd like to resume the meeting.
Two new members.
Great. We missed a new member earlier, Mel Chilowich. Where's Mel? Come on up, Mel. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Well, good morning. I feel a little bit like the preliminary act before, I guess, our guest speaker. But I'm a returnee. I was a member of the group about 15 years ago, and Mike Perloff suggested that I come back. So I'm here back again. I'm happy to be here. I live in Cherry Hill at Chanticleer, and originally from Mount Vernon, New York. And so I relate to all the people from New York, of course. And I help people with accumulating money for retirement and help them stay retired. And as I said, we've lived here for 18 years now, and I've got 3 kids and 10 grandchildren, so that's who we are. Anyhow, nice to be back. Good to see you all.
It's always nice to welcome new members. And another thank you for the great job the morning crew did setting up for our breakfast. Guys, when you come in and you see the food out, you see almost that we have coffee. There's a reason for it, because a bunch of guys came in earlier and set everything up. So let's recognize those guys. Guys, why don't you stand up, the morning crew? Great job.
Eli, you can't applaud yourself.
And I want to also thank Barry and Steve for collecting tons of money, and also our table captains for handling your tables. We had elections last month. I know we have a lot of new members, so I want to just introduce the current board. And I wanted to let you know there's a project that we're undertaking. It's called the Taskmaster, and we're trying to break down the jobs that each of these people do, because it is a lot of work for one person. And in the coming months, we're going to be asking you to maybe take a look at the list of what we come up with and see if you could help out that person accomplishing those tasks. When everybody does a little bit, a whole lot gets done. And if you've been to our events, you see that we have a lot of wonderful things going on, and we could do more, but we'll need additional help. By the way, also, I know the proclamation from the county, Rich, is that the county? Is in the back from our 25th anniversary. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, it's on the back table along with a lot of other great recognition pieces that we've earned, and we want to continue and have that grow. But our president-elect, Ed Silver, Ed, just stand up and wave so people know. The VP for External Affairs, Rich Moskowitz. VP for Operations, David Schwartz. We currently don't have a position or a person for VP of Athletics, so if you're interested, let us know on that. VP for Membership, Dick Knopf. Our VP for Finance is on here, Ed Stein. I did contact him. He's on a cruise.
We pay for it.
But I was a little bit concerned because he was going out with his whole family, and then I heard that on one of the cruise ships a helicopter had crashed, killing all the people on it from the cruise ship. And I did contact him, and he is well, and he and his family are enjoying their cruise. Assistant Treasurer Marty Raffner. Marty's back here. Religious Affairs is currently still open. And VP for Communications, Randy Accorsi. Randy? Recording Secretary, Dave Nidoff. And past presidents, Bob Greenberg, Mike Perloff, Dave Wynn, and we have a couple other past presidents that aren't with us today. Okay, Rich wanted to talk about the Camden River Sharks.
A couple years ago, we did a group trip to the Camden River Sharks. We all had a great time. So we're looking at the schedule. Let me just get it up real quick. Dick Knopf and I was talking about it. Probably from the 13th through like the 20th, 21st. So they have games on weekdays. August, I'm sorry.
Is that next
August.
training game, 13th through the 25th?
Yeah, exactly. It's a long game, yeah. So it's an independent league, so I'm going to send out an email, and if you're interested, I need to know if you're interested and if it's better to do a weekday game or a weekend game. And we'll get group rates. Tickets are like about $8, $9 a ticket, so I'll be sending the information out. Okay? They have a manager? That's right. The players on these leagues, yeah, they're lucky they're playing baseball, so, okay. Yes?
There was something on the internet the other day, you can get 10 tickets for $60 that can be used at any time.
Oh, really?
For the River Shark team, yeah.
Okay. Do you still have that email?
I'll look for it.
Okay, I'll give you my email address. Just send it to me. Okay, great. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Also, a couple others I missed initially. These are positions on the board without portfolio. Barry Adler. Barry. Dennis Satinoff. then the state, and Bob Glassman. Okay, a JAG report, Jewish Athletic Group, Dave?
Well, I start off with very sad news. Our softball team was doing great all year, but on the last match of the season, they managed to lose 2 games, and on the tiebreaker, it knocked them out of the playoffs. So it's the first year I remember that we have not made the playoffs. So again, we have to do it all over again next year and make the playoffs. The second thing is we had a tennis tournament a couple of weeks ago, and one of the players that represent us is here, Larry Bernstein. And when I left, we were doing very well. How do we make out the tournament?
I was a doubles tournament, and I was paired with Shelly Gans, and we tied for second.
Tied for second. Okay. There were 5 teams there, so that's no. I mean, it was not like there were only 2 teams or 3 teams. So that's it for JAG. You want to talk about some other stuff? The other thing that deals with sports is that the Mid-Atlantic Region Federation has an annual event that started 3 years ago called the Tour de Shul. It's a biking event, and it's a tour of a synagogue area in the western suburbs of Philadelphia. Alan Finkelstein, who's not here today, I believe he's on vacation. Pardon?
He's bicycle riding.
Oh, he's bicycle riding this morning. It has done this for us every year. I just got the notification about this year's event, which I'm going to ask Randy to send out soon. And hopefully we'll have people that join with Alan. The proceeds, and we also support this financially as a club, go for Camp Ramah up in the Poconos, which is to help Jewish kids that need it to go to have a camp experience. So that information will be coming to you shortly. But is there anybody here's a bike rider that might be interested offhand? Okay, Larry.
I ride with Al, yeah.
So we'll try and get you together with Alan.
I saw him yesterday. He said that the date, I think, is September 20th.
It's September 20th, right. Is that a good or bad date?
Don't know yet.
Okay.
Iffy.
But anyway, so hopefully we'll get representation again for that.
I know Alan is definitely going back to riding this year.
Okay. And Alan has written in Israel, done bike riding in a lot of different places, and does a lot of bike riding for charity. As far as another thing that I'd be talking about would be the JCC here. I'm kind of like the representative to the JCC. And this coming Tuesday, we have a fantastic event at Daniel Silva. I want to give you a little story about that. 2 years ago, we finally were able to get Daniel Silva to speak to us because there was a friend of his that finally got him to come here. He definitely did not want to go to JCCs. He is kind of a very big writer. Everybody knows him. And he wants to go to places where a lot of people turn out. He says, JCC, nobody's going to show up. Well, about 400 or 500 people showed up for that event. It was so powerful to him that every year since then, and he writes a book a year, he specifically contacts us and he wants to speak here. Last year he was there and we had a full house, and this year, again, he asked to speak here. The day his book comes out is Tuesday. That same day, he will be here speaking, and he will have copies of his books and signed copies of his books. So I know, Gary, I think maybe you're going with your mother. I've gone for the last 2 years, but I can't make it this year. My daughter has to go see a doctor. She just had an operation. It's a fantastic event, and I really recommend it. Tickets are still on sale downstairs in the JCC adult office.
What time?
Oh, it's 7 o'clock on Tuesday night. I'm sorry, 7:30 on Tuesday.
Picking up on Tuesday, the tickets,
Probably. I can't give you a 100% guarantee, but probably. Yeah, his books are very good. I mean, they're very easy read. If you want a summer read, then it's going to be something that you can take to the beach, wherever. It's a fast read. It's an easy read. It's a comfortable read. Now, this year, for the first time, we're also having 1 week later, which will be Tuesday, July the 7th, Lisa Scottolini. Now, those of you that read the Inquirer, she's a columnist for the Inquirer, and she is very, very funny. She's going to be speaking with her daughter, and although I can't make Daniel Silver, I will be making that. Usually Tuesday nights is Pinochle night, but I'm not scheduled for that, so I'll be there. And again, it's something I would recommend. She's supposed to be extremely funny, and so again, tickets are definitely on sale still for her, and I would recommend people go. And that'll be all for the JCC now, but as later on in the year, we're going to be talking about the Arts, Books, and Cultural Festival and so forth. And hopefully we continue to attend and also to participate in volunteer activities for JCC. Thank you. Yeah, pardon? The JAG bowling tournament, and again, JAG is a Jewish athletic group. We have a number of tournaments. We had a bowling tournament recently where we attended and we participated. The current information I have is November the 1st, which is a Sunday when the Eagles aren't playing, is as far as I can understand, the date when we're going to be having the bowling tournament for JAG. And hopefully we'll get good attendance. We had a good turnout last time, and it's everybody here can play the top 3 scores. So if you're a lousy bowler, you're still going to go and have fun. The top 3 scores. You're not going to ruin a team if you think I'm not going to get that high of a score. So if you're at all interested, when the information comes out to you, and Randy will be sending it out when we have that ready to go, hopefully you'll sign up for that also. Thank you.
We are also entering our 3rd season of the South Jersey Men's Club Fantasy Football. We have expanded from 8 teams to 10. Larry is one of our newest owners, and Dick. They are, and Eli, correct, thank you. So we have 10 teams right now. We do have room, if you're interested, for 2 more teams. And it's a lot of fun, no experience necessary, and our draft will be September 1st at La Terraza on Route 70 in Cherry Hill. But it's a lot of fun, and again, you don't need any experience. Ed, would you please come up to speak about hearing men's voices?
Before I discuss this Hearing Men Voices program, just want to remind you, we have a book exchange in the back, and there are a number of books. Please help yourself. And those that are not taken, we donate them downstairs to the library at the JCC. But let me invite you to pick a book up or 2. They're free. Also, before I get started with this Hearing Men's Voices, it was announced twice about it, the guys that come here early to help out. But I want to give special attention to 2 guys, because it's not just that they come here every Sunday, every meeting early, but they also have to do the purchasing early. And Dick Knopf is responsible for buying the vegetables. I don't know how much time it takes, but he does it. Bob Greenberg brings the orange juice. He has to go shopping, but all of the shopping actually is done by Rich Moskowitz. Ours, I'm sure. You know, the eggs, the fish. We'll get to Marty in a minute. You know, he spends a lot of time before we even get here on Sunday morning. So I just wanted to let Rich know that I'm very appreciative for what he does. Also, the coffee is purchased and made, Marty.
And the bagels. And screwed up today.
And the bagels.
Sometimes.
For a couple of months now, I've been trying to get something organized. It's a program called Hearing Men's Voices. It's actually started by the Mid-Atlantic region of the Federation of Men's Club, Jewish Men's Clubs. And basically, it's a guided group discussion broken down into small groups about issues that are interesting and pertinent to Jewish men. Some of the topics include men's health, intermarriage, father and son relationships, and they have agreed to give us training so that we can run our own groups. And we need about 4 people to agree to be trained to lead this guided group discussion. It's sort of like what you might see David Letterman talking to, one person, but it would be a group. I put a form on your table, just says Hearing Men's Voices or Men's Voices. If you'd be interested in learning how to run a group, I'll collect those papers at the end of our meeting today. Right now we have 2 volunteers. Barry Adler has agreed to volunteer to run a group, and Detta Satinoff has agreed. Okay, I've got one more. So I'll need maybe 2 more people who can agree to spend about a half hour to learn the training, and then we could possibly have a group meeting of some time and do the Hearing Men's Voices. I'm told it's a very moving and emotional experience that you get a lot out of it. So I'll try to collect those at the end of our session today. Thank you.
For a JFCS report, David?
Good morning. JFCS continues to look for people to drive, driver volunteers to drive people to doctor's appointments. I did sign up for Take the Wheel program, which is taking veterans to doctor's appointments. I have not yet had one, but they have given me a couple other assignments driving some people to other people to doctor's appointments. So again, it's a nice cause. The thing I want to stress over and over again, it meets your schedule, not theirs. They give you the option of picking and choosing whenever you're available. Some of the trips are very short, others are a little bit longer, but they're all, the doctors are in the general, nearby. So please, I ask you to consider signing up for the program. Thank you.
Marty, do you have anything that you want to talk about the Israel trip, or?
The trip is getting closer. It is October 13th, which is a little over 3 months. Right now what we do is the group, in preparation to going to Israel, we as a group have been meeting about every 6 to 8 weeks, going out to a restaurant so the men and the women get to feel a little comfortable leaving before we get there, where we'll probably cause havoc. But we're really looking forward to it. One of the hotels, and I'm told it's an excellent place, is the Inabal in Jerusalem. And the other one is the Carlton, I think, in Tel Aviv, which is right up against the beach. So we're looking forward to this. We'll be coming back the day after the men's club meeting in October, so maybe in November we can be the speakers. So that's it.
Yeah, thanks, Don. About the bowling, we showed up. That's about it. And it's very serious about it. You don't have to worry about your skills. One guy was thrilled that he almost broke 100. But moving on, some of the things that we do on a regular basis are we collect books, as he said. We bring in eyeglasses, which go for Lions Club. We bring toiletries in and cell phones. Now the toiletries, that's what I want to just point out. This is a time when so many of us travel. And when we travel and we stay overnight, you get the shampoo and the conditioner and a few other little tchotchkes, and sometimes you don't even use them. Take them every day. And when you come in, you got a nice big bunch to donate, okay? Now, I've even made it a practice over the years where when I go to a hotel or any other place where they do that, I'll go to the manager and say, I'm with a group that collects toiletries when we travel and donate them to needy organizations. Could you put something together for me? Almost always, you get a nice bag. So I suggest that you do that, okay? The other thing is, just briefly, 1 second, Dick.
Mike, I just wanted to reiterate that I was up in Cape Cod, hometown area, and I not only got a little bag, I literally got a case of shampoo and conditioner. It was unbelievable. It counted was like about 500 different pieces. So definitely ask the manager because he'll probably reciprocate.
Thank you. Sometimes they'll say, well, we need, if it's part of a chain, they'll say something like we need a letter or something. Just talk to the chambermaid. They'll give you some extra things. Okay, the last thing is I just got back from about 3 weeks in Europe, and I just want to quickly say that Germany is really, really open and good when it comes to Jews and restitution. They go out of their way to try to make restitution for property that was stolen. Austria, they fight tooth and nail. Very difficult for Jews to regain property. I was surprised. I had no idea. I just wanted to throw that out there. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. And now I'm going to ask Dave to come back up to introduce our speaker. And if you would just kindly put your cell phones on silent or vibrate, that'd be appreciated. David?
Just one side note that I failed to mention earlier is that the JFCS is always looking for food donations for their pantry here at the JCC. So please bring in non-perishable, preferably kosher, but not limited to kosher foods. Thank you. Abe Ferdas is a member of our men's club for the last, I believe, two years. He lives locally, of course, and he has agreed to speak to us today, and I appreciate his jumping in and helping out. He's going to talk about Jews in Cuba, and he is going to do his own introduction. So welcome, Abe Ferdas.
Thank you for having me. I think this is something that obviously is very close to me, so it's going to be easy to talk about. And what I want to do is have just 2 or 3 pages of things I want to say, and then open it for questions. I think there's a lot of questions about Cuba now. And I'm going to talk about Jews in Cuba, but if you want, we can talk about what's going on in Cuba now. So that's what my plan. Now, Dave said that to give my own bio, because it has to do with things that related. So I was born in 1949 in Havana, Cuba. I finished the 7th grade in Cuba before I came to the United States. I was bar mitzvah February 10th, 1962. I left Cuba March 13, 1962. So it was like 4 weeks after my bar mitzvah. There were about 9 family members in my bar mitzvah. They're all gone by then. And actually, this is an interesting kind of concept of when do you leave. And this was very similar to what happened in Hitler Germany. You know, all the Jews would say, no, it can't happen here. It can't happen here. And a lot of Jews, unfortunately, stayed in Germany after 39, and you know what happened. So this is the same issue it was in Cuba. I mean, I remember my mother and father fighting all the time about, and my father saying, no, it can't happen in Cuba. And my mother said, let's get the hell out of here. And so by the time everybody decided to go, we were like the less 10 leaving. Actually, I went by myself. I actually left Cuba by myself at 13 because my parents could not leave because they were still doing paperwork to dispose of their property, which they already lost anyway. So it was kind of an interesting adventure. I mean, at the time, you just take Pan Am. I mean, Pan Am had flights to Miami twice a day. Again, this was March 62. The missile crisis was in October of 62. So I left before the missile crisis, and there was some relationships going on with the United States, including Pan Am still flying. So I flew to Miami, and then a member of the Hayas was waiting for me. And again, that's a great institution. And I've done some work for them, and they're really nice. So this guy was waiting for me there in the airport, took me to lunch, and then put me in a plane to New York. And then my family was waiting for me in New York, and I basically lived in Brooklyn through my college time. So that was kind of a kind of my experience coming to the United States. Now, New York was great. You know, great high schools were great. I went into 8th grade. They had all this English and speech, and you know, it's a marvelous place to be if you're an immigrant in New York. A lot of people here are from New York, so they know that. And so I went to City College of New York, got a chemical engineering degree. I got a job in the Environmental Protection Agency in Philadelphia in 1971. I got a Master's of Environmental Engineering from Drexel, paid by the government. So it was actually, you know, the United States has been very, very good to me. So I appreciate that. Very, very good to me, yeah. That was a picture, right? A picture, and it said that. In EPA, I worked for 41 years. I retired 2 years ago. The last 15 years of my EPA career, I was the director of all hazardous waste and emergency response for the Mid-Atlantic region. So I was the one in I had all those people working in 9/11 and all that stuff we did ourselves. So that was really fascinating work. So let's talk about Jews in Cuba. Now, the first immigration of Jews to Cuba was the Sephardic Jews from the Middle East. You know, Turkey, Greece, Syria. And they came early in the 20th century. But really, the main immigration to the United States of Jews were the Ashkenazi Jews from Eastern Europe after World War I. One thing that we have to realize is that between World War I and World War II, the United States had very strict quotas. And basically, nobody from Eastern Europe could get into the United States. So the only immigration was to Latin America. So Cuba was an obvious one because it was close to the United States. But a lot of Jews went to Argentina and Brazil. Argentina has now about 500,000 Jews. So that was very successful also. So anyway, so the immigration of the Jews after World War I was really the major one. It reached about 30,000. I mean, in 1959, there were about 30,000 Jews in Cuba. The first years they were pretty tough. You know, if you imagine yourself, if you're from Lithuania, like my father was, and come to Cuba, it's very hot and very hard to speak Spanish. You know, if you speak Yiddish and Spanish is very different. And so there was my father worked in sewing shoes in a factory. But then after the World War II ended, now Cuba was neutral. It was not in the war. So I know my mother worked as a diamond cutter in Cuba because all the diamond cutters, all the Jewish diamond industry left Europe and came to Cuba during the war. So again, people started making a lot of money, and Jews in Cuba became very successful. I mean, they owned a lot of property. They owned almost the entire wholesale kind of thing and retail stuff. So by 1959, like I said, there were 30,000 Jews. We had 4 synagogues, and it was really a very nice place to live. You get used to the warm weather. So that was the picture when Castro came to power. And it really, Castro has always behaved very well to the Jews. There's never been an incident where Castro really, I mean, he hated Israel because Israel was on the wrong side of the Soviet Union, but the Jews in Cuba were treated very well. The problem was that the economic issue was significant in the sense that he nationalized all the properties of all the rich people in Cuba. So I would say that everybody who left Cuba, Jews included, were for economic reasons, really not because of anti-Semitism. And that's, I want to make clear that because that's not never said it correctly. So, for example, my parents had a store, and actually it wasn't big enough to be nationalized, but you basically had this store becoming empty because the government was controlling all the wholesale. So basically, you can't get stuff to the store unless you got it closed. So basically, the options that my parents had was work for some government thing. So obviously, that was not acceptable. So the immigration to from Cuba was very significant, and almost all of them happened in the early 1960s. Very few people, after 1966, 67, there really were almost no Jews left. Now, there is a Jewish community there, because my rabbi just went to see them. But, but it's a very different issue, and this is controversial because, you know, people come back and say they have a very active community, they're really, you know, eat Shabbos dinners and all that. But really, the best accounts I found is that there's about 1,500 Jews in Cuba right now. And about half of them don't have Jewish mothers, which means that people basically came into the faith. And the reason for it is, I'm sorry if it's controversial, you get stuff. You have a kosher store, you have a lot of stuff. A lot of the Americans come in and give stuff. So again, what I'm saying is that the Cuban community now in Cuba is a survival kind of thing. I mean, there hasn't been a rabbi living in Cuba since 1963. Now, you have a lot of rabbis visiting, and there is one synagogue still open every day. But again, for example, there were two or three young people were sent to Israel to get training to be rabbis in Cuba. You know, young Cuban Jews. They all stayed in Israel. They never came back. So it's kind of an interesting issue. And now, you know, now that they're going to open more immigration, more, you know, especially to Israel, most probably the Jewish population in Cuba will disappear. I mean, I don't think there's very hope for that. And it's kind of sad, and most probably we should go and see them now before they disappear. But if you're Cuban, you don't go. If you're American, you can go. So I mean, that's really the sad story about it. You had a very vibrant 4 synagogues, very very influential people in Cuba in 1959, and because of really economic issues and the government, it basically has disappeared. And regardless what you know, my rabbi said, most probably it's going to disappear pretty soon because of just events of history. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Obviously, the Cubans in the United States have been very successful for the last 50 years. Most of them live in Miami. All my family is in Miami. My parents stayed in Brooklyn because my father doesn't like the heat. He likes it cold, and he didn't drive. So if you go to Miami, you have to drive. So that's you know, that. So we you know, they lived in Brooklyn for 40 some years. Actually, I brought them here the last 5 years of their life, but it wasn't by then. You know, I was in charge, so I brought them in. So that's really what happened to Cubans and Jews in Cuba. I wanted to make it short so I can open for all questions. I also, if you want, I can talk about what's going on in Cuba, Cuba-United States relations. Let me say just a little bit about that. The embargo, the law that's called the embargo, this is the key issue, is still in effect. Congress has not changed that. So if that doesn't change, not much is going to change with our relationships with Cuba. Yeah, we can. I just said Cuba instead of Cuba. Really, what's going on is the United States wants to show some progress. They're going to open an embassy. They're going to do some minor things, but the reason for example, the reason I don't want to go to Cuba is because if I go to Cuba, I would pay $1,000 a day to the Cuban government to put me in a bus and show me what they got. Tourism is illegal under the United States law. So, and Cuba is taking advantage of that because they don't want me to wander around and see where I live or go to the beach or something like that. So it's not, it hasn't changed much. I mean, you read in the paper that it has changed a lot, but it really hasn't. And doesn't mean that I'm in favor of the embargo. I think most of the Cubans by now are against the embargo. There's a lot of political issues here. The major issue is the restitution. I think there's about $68 billion claimed by American companies that the Cuban government took from them. Basically, Cuba was a United States kind of province. I mean, everything was American there. So there was $68 billion that Cuba owns to Exxon and AT&T and all these people. So as long as that's not going to happen, the money to the politicians is still going in there to demand a restitution. And the embargo will not, because the embargo clearly says if there's no restitution, the embargo stays. This is how the law has been structured. So that's not, a lot of people don't talk about that, but that's really the reality of it. And, Cubans have get a lot of power. 3 senators, 2 running for president, 5 congressmen. I mean, there's a lot of political power that Cubans had, and they enjoy it. They elected Bush 2 times. Actually, Obama won the Cuban vote in the last 2 elections. So things are changing, even in Miami. So I think that the issue really is a lot of people are holding on to the old thinking of, we're going to get Castro, when really, as Obama said, 50 years is enough to experiment, Hasn't worked. And now, the other thing that happened is that Cuba's willing to talk now. And the reason for that is, let me start a little bit. Cuba has no source of energy. They need a ship of oil every day. So before 1959, it was a very, very nice arrangement. You fill a boat of oil in Galveston, and you go to Havana, and they refine it over here, and everybody was happy. Now, when the United States closed that source, then they started using the Soviet Union. Soviet Union took 7 or 8 days for the boat to come, but they still were coming. When the Soviet Union collapsed, then they got Venezuela to get free oil. So now the people are afraid, Cuba's afraid that Venezuela is going to go bankrupt and they're going to stop the oil. So they say, well, maybe it's time to talk to the United States because they're really running out of sources of oil. So I think that's what it is. Cuba's talking politically. It's going to look good to open Cuba, but you still need Congress to change it, and that doesn't seem to happen because of all the large corporations owing $68 billion. So I think that's what it is. Okay, that's all I got. Thank you. Questions? Yeah.
I went to a military prep school before Castro, and there were students there from Cuba, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, at that time, and I was young, but you never thought, about any Jews, living in these places at that time. I learned a few expressions that I'm not even going to repeat. Back then, that the guys would use at that time, but it was really, something. And but as far as any talk about that in those years, about anything Jewish or anything there.
Yeah, they would call me Rubio, which means blonde. So I'm instead of calling me black, they were calling me Rubio. That's kind of Cuba. It's kind of interesting. This is true in most of Latin America. There is no social discrimination. There is economic discrimination. So if you're poor, you're going to stay poor. But it doesn't matter socially. Doesn't matter what color you are or what it is. It's really doesn't exist in Latin America. Obviously, Latin America has a problem because the rich are not letting the poor to get richer. But there is no social issue. So you see, whites and blacks, which are, I won an award.
Can I make it official?
I got a medal. But you just don't see the social thing. And when I came, and when I came to the United States, it kind of hit me really quickly that there's something going on here that I did not understand. And really, the social discrimination is something that is really it hits you on your face very quickly when you're in the United States. But you're right. I think that would be correct. Yeah, go ahead.
Your parents, since they lost their property, will they get restitution?
No, because you see, they had a house, but I mean, they had a store, and the store was rented. So basically, it's just like a CVS. It was like a CVS with no drugs. I mean, that's what they run. And it was a big store, and there was a lot of people working, but there was no capital. And, there's nothing there, yeah.
How do you see Cuba after Castro leaves?
Well, you see, that's the problem. It's the United States who's controlling this. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's not Cubans' fault. It's the United States who are prohibiting Americans to deal with Cuba. And I think that, and I think you looked in Eastern Europe, it went fast. Once you open the money and the flow, it falls real fast. And I think that if Congress eliminates the embargo, I think it will be really fast to have. Now, is it going to be a democracy? Who knows? I mean, we tried in Iraq and it didn't work. So I mean, what I'm saying is that I don't know what kind of government it is, but I think it will be very quickly where all this money will come in and change everything. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Who was? Go ahead.
I keep seeing pictures in Cuba of the people there driving 50s and 60-year-old cars.
Right.
In this country, a car drops dead in 10 years. How come in Cuba you can keep the cars running for so long in comparison?
They have. I mean, they have machine shops. I mean, they duplicate the parts by hand in a machine in a machine shop, and they keep it running. I mean, really. I mean, cars now, cars can run a lot. I mean, if you there's just pieces of part, and they do that. I mean, they do import engines from Japan and stuff like that. So I mean, there is new engines coming in. So
Cuba primarily is a Roman Catholic country.
Right.
So my question is, prior to Castro, was there a concerted anti-Semitism because of the church controlling the country? And then what happened after Castro came in and became a communist country? Did things change again?
Right.
And how were Jews able to live, in a freedom setting?
I don't recall the Catholic Church and the Jewish people having any problems. I mean, actually, when I was a kid, I used to go and play in the church because it was the only cool place. This is before air conditioning. So we used to hang around the church because it was kind of cool, not hot. So I was not aware of that. Now, after Castro saw the Catholic Church as their enemy number one because they had power that so he went very, very hard on hitting the Catholic Church. Most of all the priests were thrown out, out of the country, and it was a big deal. That did not happen to Jews, like I said. I mean, they were a very small people. I mean, it was not a threat to them because they were so small, almost everybody left. So really, it was not a threat. And actually, what I said was, he actually supported them. All these years, there's 50 years, there's been a kosher butcher in Cuba. And that has to, the only way it can happen is if the government supports it, the way Cuba runs. So really, it's kind of interesting. And, the Catholic, if you see in other Latin American countries like Mexico, they hate the Catholic Church because the Catholic Church historically was in favor of the ruling class. And as you have populist revolutions, you get a very, so really, the Catholic Church is in trouble in all Latin America because they reflect the ruling class, and that's why the Pope now coming from Argentina is such a refreshing thing because he was a Jesuit. He's not a priest. So those people believe, and they've always been against the church and how they deal with poor people. So that's really the answer to that. Yeah. Go ahead.
A point for those who are interested. I had an opportunity to go to Cuba for a couple of weeks. There's a lot of humanitarian efforts in Cuba, and where the American government sanctions the trips and gives you permission to go. If you bring medical supplies or things like that, and you'll get to see a good piece of the culture. If anybody's interested, I could probably find out more information about that, where you can actually take one of those trips. It was fascinating. It was wonderful to go to.
Oh yeah, there's about, I think, 200,000 Americans every year that go to Cuba. So, but they're all...
with permission from the United States government?
Well, now actually, you don't need a permit now. That's one of the changes that Obama did. You don't need a permit now. But you still have to do the same thing you did before when you're in Cuba.
Now, a question about energy and power. In order to get oil, Cuba has a relationship with Argentina.
Or is it Venezuela?
Where they're getting a lot of their...
Venezuela.
Venezuela, I'm sorry, not...
Right.
And we don't do very well with Venezuela. I mean, politically then, doesn't that cause conflicts?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's sanctions to individuals in Venezuela, but there is no sanctions, American sanctions against the government of Venezuela. The United States buy a lot of Venezuela oil, and Citgo is a Venezuelan company. The issue is that Venezuela is in trouble. And most probably they're close to bankruptcy, even though they have all this, nobody can figure out why, but they managed to do it. So if something goes wrong, they'll stop the, Cuba pays back. For example, Cuba has a lot of doctors. It's the best medicine in the world. If you have medicine, the doctors are there. So there's a trip every day. A plane leaves Venezuela with 100 people, and they go to Cuba, and they got cataract surgeries. They sleep over, then the next day they go back and another one. So Cuba is trying to pay back Venezuela. Obviously, it doesn't add up. 100 cataract operations doesn't match up a boat full of oil. But what I'm saying is they try to do that. They give them doctors, they give them military help and all that stuff. But what I'm saying is that economically, Venezuela is in trouble, and as the prices of the oil goes down again and again, they're afraid that deal is going to break. So that's why they went out to the United States and say, let's talk. So that's kind of the chemistry of it. Yeah.
Two questions. First one, the Canadians obviously not controlled by any form of embargo.
Right.
Do they have the same restrictions when they get to Cuba? Or
No, they lay in the beach all day. Yeah, and Spain and Canada most probably are the biggest investors in Cuba now. Yeah.
And the second question, I was told that maybe you can confirm this. The Jews supposedly in Cuba, the few that are remaining, have freer access to meat for religious reasons.
Right, the kosher butcher. Right.
Non-Jewish.
Right.
Is that true?
Yes. Yeah, that's why I'm saying that half of the Jews now are converts, not their mothers are not Jewish. So they joined this for the benefits.
But I was told that they actually can get meat.
Right, yeah. So that's a benefit. In Cuba, it's a big benefit. I mean, I remember staying in line. I mean, I was there only 3 years, but I remember staying in line. My mother would let me there. You stay in line for the chicken, and then 4 hours later she will come and buy the chicken, So I mean, that's going on now. For the last 50 years, it's been going on, yeah.
Traditionally, the Cuban population in Florida is very anti-Castro, anti-Cuba. What is their take now on the United States' efforts to open Cuba, when they've always had this animosity towards Cuba, wanted Castro and his followers and his legacy out and gone? What are their feelings now with the way things are changing?
It's very diverse now, and because the Cuban population has grown. I mean, it's more than 1 million people in Florida alone, but they have been coming all through the last 50 years. So the people who immigrated in the early 60s are the ones who are in charge of Dade County and Miami and all that. But then there was another immigration in 1980, the Mariel immigration. And those people lived on the Castro for 20 years, and they have family. And then in the last 10 years, there's been a lot of Cubans coming in. I mean, you take a boat, and if you touch, Cubans have a lot of rights. I mean, if you take a boat and you touch land, you're in forever. They're not never going to throw you out. A Haitian goes in, they go back. So it's different. I myself, I came in as a refugee, but in 1968 they passed the Cuban immigration law. I got a green card right away, and in 2 years I was citizen. Okay, so Cubans have a lot of rights that nobody else has. So, but as the different immigrations have happened, they feel differently. And really, the younger generation, especially people who came, have a lot of family in Cuba, so they want to have relations with Cuba so they can visit and send money and all that. I mean, they can send money, but they want to do more. The 1962 guys, those are the ones who really hate Castro because they lost property, they ruined their life and all that. But they're dying. This is 50 years ago. So there's very few of those left. I mean, my father, he was ready to invade, but he's dead. So what I'm saying is that it's changing because it's 50 years, So, that's the problem with Palestinians. They don't seem to get it, It's 60 years and they don't get it. Cubans have got it, the United States is their country. And so the second generation and third generations are very different. And I think that the latest polling I had is like 60% of Cubans are in favor of abolition of the embargo. So this is going to change. The problem is whoever is in power is still, Rubio still gets a lot of money with Exxon, and Cruz gets a lot of money from Exxon, and even what's his name, the Menendez, the one from here also gets a lot of money from Exxon. So that's why you hear the people who has a voice are saying no, but I think that if you ask Cubans, they say yes because it doesn't mean much to them anymore.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, do you know of any Cuban baseball players that would like to play in Philly?
Hernandez, right? I mean, there's about 15 of them already. Yeah. No, you're laughing, but when I used to go to recruit to Puerto Rico for EPA for engineers, and they would tell me, ask them if they play ball, because we need it for our softball team, and we had the best softball team in the league. Yeah.
Abe, you talked about some of the reasons why the Cubans want relations with the United States. Is there any real reason why the United States, any advantage that the United States is going to get out of this?
I mean, it's getting hard to think about it. I mean, it's just, if you have relations with Vietnam, Vietnam killed, 50,000 Americans, And we have relations with them. Cubans have not killed any Americans. I mean, it's really the influence of the Cubans in Miami and so on that are really still running this thing.
Well, Vietnam has a pool of cheap labor, and a lot of our stuff is now manufactured in Vietnam. Is that a possibility?
I mean, Cuban people are highly educated.
Yes.
They have the highest number of PhDs of any country in Latin America. More doctors, more teachers, everything. It would have been it's going to be very easy. And, I mean, English used to be spoken, a lot in Cuba. Most probably that doesn't happen anymore. But I think, that it's a very adaptable place. Obviously, the United States will be very successful there. So.
Cigars, rum, and sugar.
It used to be.
It still would be.
Well, sugar industry is dead. That's what happened to Cuba. I mean, they used to get all their money from sugar, but nobody uses sugar anymore. They use corn, and it's just that the price. The United States used to subsidize that. Because the sugar in Cuba was in the same status as sugar made in the United States, so they would get all their subsidies. So they were getting a lot of money for that sugar because the United States was actually subsidizing them, just like American farmers. So, like beet farmers and all that they used to exist. So yeah, so I mean, there is no industry in Cuba. I mean, that's the problem. They just can't make a living. Obviously, tourism will be the big thing, but hey.
Raul Castro is pretty old. When he goes, what kind of government do you think will be running the country? Volunteering?
Well, I mean, that's the problem with all tyrants. You know, there is no succession, and there's just there's going to be obviously there's a problem. I mean, there's no obvious thing, and that's why the United States has an opportunity to talk to somebody who's in charge, because if he dies, who the hell are you going to talk to?
It could be somebody that's more like Fidel.
Yeah. I mean, they're you know.
Maybe they'll send Mark Rubio back over there.
Yeah, I have experience in government, but I mean, it's just you don't know. I mean, and that's how we got in trouble in Iraq. We thought we were going to make democracy. No, I mean, there's other issues more important than democracy to those people, and I think that more important, like if you're Sunni or not, than being a Democrat. So that's. You want me to go?
Yeah, I think we're.
One more. Any questions?
One more question? Oh, you can bring that up.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Hey, don't go. I'd like to thank you with a certificate. This is tradition. Okay, and one other announcement before I announce the 50-50. Mike reminded me we have an excellent 5-minute video. Maybe Dave, you could post it if it's not already on. If you want to see what our club is about, particularly the new members, spend 5 minutes and you'll get a great idea of what we do. And I know we have 4 new members. One already received it, but I want to give a 25th South Jersey Men's Club anniversary. The winning number, 744-582. And our president-elect at 744-582 is the recipient. $60.
We're starting a new tradition. The president-elect will win every month.
And I'm not sure, is there an investment club? Any members of an investment club here? Oh, they already had their meeting. Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it. And our next meeting will be in July. Thank you.